we are going to officially get started. Welcome, everyone, to this special CC Canada conversation on a Saturday afternoon during a very, very busy time in all of our lives and around the planet at this time. It's quite astounding. So thank you all for taking the time today to gather together and hopefully shed some light on some dark areas of this world. So thank you to everyone, and a special thank you to our guests today. So before we do get started, as always, hopefully more often than not, we like to do a protection meditation to start. And what we're doing here is a lot of energy work, and we are raising the vibration. So we want to prepare ourselves for higher frequencies and those connections. So it's difficult when we're moving through our 3D space day in and day out. Sometimes we might not be in the right headspace or alignment when we get together like this, and so it's always important to kind of take those few moments to kind of settle in and be in that present. Also, of course, with doing the amazing work that we do, we leave ourselves a little susceptible to infiltration as we are working with these higher frequencies. So we like to just do a little bit of a protection, make sure that we are in a safe and holding space that we can share openly and be vulnerable with each other, because that is really what it's all about. So if you are new and if you haven't experienced a CC Canada meditation just yet, we only have the one. More are coming. So thank you for being patient with that. But we like to do a combination of the meditation and some visualization techniques to help protect ourselves in this space. So I'll invite you just to get a little comfortable, relax yourself. I'm going to start the video in just a moment. It's about 5 minutes long, and then afterwards we're going to get down to the chatting. So thank you all very much. One moment. Please close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose, holding it for the count of 3. Now slowly exhale through your mouth for the count of 3. Time in through the nose. Allow all the experiences of the day, both good and not so good, to fall away from you with that breath. You are present here and now. Envision around yourself an orb of brilliant platinum energy, the brightest light you have ever seen. This platinum extends all around you,
all of your bodies, including your spiritual and emotional bodies. Not only is this energy around you, but it is also within you, even down to the atomic level and all spaces in between. Dear One Infinite Creator, Creator of all that is, please send us the highest vibrational forces to keep us safe, focused and positive in our intent in this time and space, and to protect us and all those we share this experience with. May all of our communications be protected and shielded from all negative interference. Through all directions of north, south, east, and west, earth, sky, and heart, we direct the four corners to be sealed in the eternal light of unity and oneness. We invite our Christ consciousness and oneness families to help guide us and all that is in the highest expression of our purpose this evening. I am the one infinite creator. I am sovereign. I am free. We are impenetrable and invincible. Blessings be upon us all. Om.
All right. Thank you all very much for that. Okay. Just before we get started, just a quick reminder of our interview etiquette. Please, if you haven't already, please remember to mute your mics. These interviews and these conversations are shared with the larger group and posted to platforms such as MeWe Pro. So if you do not wish to have your face being seen during that time, you feel free to turn off your cameras as well. Questions for Karl can be thrown into the chat, which will be monitored by myself and Catherine and any of the other coordinators that wish to do so. I'm sure there will be lots of questions today as we dive into some of these topics. We will be going for roughly 2 hours today, so please bear with us. We might not get to everything, and that's okay. That just means hopefully we'll be able to do another one. So that said, I'm just going to introduce our guest, Karl. So Karl Dorey was a pilot on and in the SSP, possibly the not Wafton, on a 20-year and back mission, which went bad and came back early on his 17th year after his repressed emotions began to deteriorate. During his life career, he spent time on a space station near Saturn for flight training, Mars as a soldier, Los Alamos doing psionic missions. He will be sharing some of his experiences of different ET beings he's encountered, the programming, and the technology of the SSP. Welcome, Karl, for your time. I'm so grateful that you are with us, sharing with us today. Please, you have the floor. What is the SSP? How does one get involved? And where do we go from here?
All right. The secret space program is back in at least 50s, maybe 40s. Governments of the world contacted or weren't contacted with people off planet. And another, probably not just governments, but corporations got involved. Part of the deal for technology and science and information with the ETs, and also partly with some of the German offshoots in World War II, was that they wanted children and people to work as workers, slaves, and soldiers for them. In some of the cases, you couldn't just be anybody, you had to have some base psychic, empathic ability so that they can work on you and improve it. I came into that. I was born in 1963, and my sixth year, I was picked up by the ETs, a big ship in the backyard, walked out through the back door, brought aboard the ship, and a 6-foot tall gray gave me a test. It was like a light wand over my body. But this time I was not too afraid, and I still remember some of the instrumentation. Then I was put back, and I was not allowed to remember that, but I remembered, it's like a weird dream that I was allowed to remember. If they don't allow you to remember something that happened, emotionally it can mess you up long term. So they gave me a dream of a big worm, giant worm in our backyard, and a giant sitting next door. And it's still like a fresh dream right now. Then I seem to have passed their test, because between 6 and 8, they picked me up, strapped me to a table, nothing on, and I won't go for all of the details, but I was electrocuted, tortured until I had a separate personality. They knew their stuff. When I was literally seeing myself writhing on this table, they stopped. I was not in a good frame of mind. I was in trauma. I get given a quick shower, and they sealed this trauma for a long, long time until about 3-4 years ago. Very powerful emotions, very negative. But they can now, when they could pick me up, they could work with somebody else. In time, as a young teenager, that person would become Alan 354 in their program. So between, that was about 7 to 8. At about 8 years old, I was running across the road to get home first. 4-lane road, not smart. So I had the side mirror of the car hit my back of my head. When I was in the hospital, when they were fixing me up, I was out of body, and I went up a tube of light, made of balls of light, it was really neat, into a metallic room where 4 or 5, they're people, but their gowns look like black gowns with gold and silver on it, very elaborate, and more like goldish, silverish hair, long, thin hair. And my soul was a ball of energy in a clear box with a little lightning around it, and I was separate outside watching. They could see me, I could see them, but when I got too close to this box, my emotions got a bit too much, and in the regression, I was taken back home. Okay, a lot of this stuff I'm going to tell you, I got back in. I started to learn about 1994, 95, when they allowed me to remember. I couldn't remember any of the good stuff or much of the stuff until they allowed me to remember. Okay, so I'm out of body. I come back, the room is metallic, and the way you get in as an energy being, it's the portal, the door looks like a black glass, round black glass. And there's also a metal door for the other people that looked like a submarine door. And I ended up back at home and back in my body over, but then I went looking around the hospital. It's really neat. Went through doors, and I could see myself like flashes of the lightning on the walls going down the hallway. And then I got back to my body, and they were all finished. My mother was holding my hands as we were going back to my room. And I can still remember her hand and her emotions, that how much she loved me, and this damn kid of what did he do this? What did he do to himself? Type thing. So that next, at about 11, they picked me up from our home in Gatineau, Quebec. A nice, and the ship was in the backyard. They strapped me to a table very, very tightly. And they took out my brain. This was really weird. They took out my brain by, it's like the technology is like a black strap they can put over your head, turn it on, and the strap looks like it absorbs all light and nothing leaves, but they can open up your head like a flower pot. And with another little strap, they can go reach right into your skull and take out your brain, and the blood and the nerves are still attached. The brain was put into a bowl, a clear bowl-like device on the side, on the instrument table. It went down, and it went down with the lid. I believe they put in me a implant in the center of my brain. And why? Well, after they were done, they closed they closed up the skull, but on top there's a black wire cable to the ceiling. I was sitting up, I was feeling sick. And I wasn't sick for long, but when I was done, I was starting to pick up their images and their thoughts of the beings around me. I can now somewhat communicate with them. I was then taken to a room for simple testing of how it worked. And I got introduced for the first time to a metal throne, and it has two pieces of metal on, so say, on one side of your head here and on top. It doesn't touch your head. You sit there, and they can put into your mind in virtual reality, or they can put information into you. And they were happy. I got a bit cocky with the operator, who was a gray, and he gave me a sensation of like a piece of something in my chest, a piece of metal in my chest, or something coming out of my chest, like a shock. Now, once I had that implant, see, to go up into the craft, they use something like a tire tube type of technology. It looked like a tire tube. In the beam of light, and we just went up through the beam of light through the bottom of the floor into the transport room. And the transport room floor that you go through looks like glass, black glass, it have a very short, tiny wall all the way around, top and ceiling, about 2-3 inches, with little black balls. This time when I went back down, I didn't need any technology. I just went down in with the light with them, and they put me back. Now, in between about 11 and 13, I was picked up a few times and tested to see how the implant was going. One time was me and a friend were out looking for crayfish. A triangular black craft approached us, freaked out my friend. I went calm. A part of me knew what was going on, and he ended up in my face swearing like, what the hell is going on? And then he was put out. He was just like they took control of his mind. He's like a zombie. He just stood there, and I knew they were here. I could feel them. Now, they put me and my friend onto the craft, and I was taken to it looks like a parking bay. What's the word? It was internal. It was a station or on a base, and I was handed over to a mantis, about 7, 8 foot tall mantis, taken off to a small room, sat in another of these metal thrones, and with a tablet computer, something that looks like a tablet computer, I was told to look at it, and I saw fast flowing images of numbers and images. Another abductee person has also seen them, and then this mantis simply looked at me and was scanning me, I guess, and I didn't freak out, and that was it. And we were put back home. There's a few more things. See now, what else?
So Karl, just let's pause there for 1 second.
Yeah.
So you kind of gave us a little bit of a Cole's notes from 6 to roughly 15, 13 to 15.
Well, say I haven't got to 13.
Okay,
To
13.
8, 11.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so and at that point, it sounds like you've already experienced so much. So I'm sure there's lots to unpack there. There's a couple questions that I think are going to be coming into a little later. I want to ask though a couple before we move on. We have one from Kat asking, can the SSP soldier involvement be generational?
Probably yes. My father was Air Force, Canadian Air Force. He knew something he could never tell me. He would never tell me. He only told a brother-in-law some very minor facts about the triangular craft with the white balls on the bottom, that they were radar. But I brought up the UFO thing once before he died, and he would not say a word about it.
Interesting. Okay, so let's go back for a second. You had a great introduction that you gave at the very beginning about the SSP, some of those origins. You touched on some of those treaties and some of those agreements that were made. Now, historically, we all know that to be kind of more of an influence happening in America. Are you able to speak of how that treaty is crosses over into Canada and other countries?
They didn't leave me a lot. What my information is like, you've got 2-3 hour movies, 4 hour movies, and they just allow you to have 5 to 10 seconds or 5 minutes, a little bit of each, and you get to put the puzzle together. So from the puzzle parts that I have now, when they started, it didn't really, it was on the treaties. I don't know the details, but I am Canadian. I am sure there's other people similar to me that are American. There's British involvement. I don't remember seeing any black people, but I'm not putting it out. There's also females involved too. I was told in my memories that I'm a hybrid. So that would be mom and dad had some kids and I was changed. But I can only speak of what I've learned from other people, that when they started doing this to the children on the first generation they used in the 40s and 50s, the torture was multiple torture to get multiple personalities. They bring you back, and the bulk of the kids died along the way or went crazy, so they killed them. By the time they got to me in the mid 69, 70s, when I was brought in with the torture, that I remember only one set of torture to make me. And that's enough. That was quite bad. But I don't have any details on any paperwork. They don't allow me to have that.
Understandable, no worries. So couple questions, maybe we can quickly get through them before we move on with what you were explaining. Louise is kind of curious if you were abducted by MyLab.
Military are involved, yes. Military are involved. As a child in that time period, okay, at 13, 14, they offered me a job. They offered my alter a job. But before that, when about 11 or 12, I guess, two soldiers, male and a female soldier, took me, and I was in an underground facility. I just remember the parking area and a hallway, and they gave me some type of doctor type figure, gave me a test where I was locked into a metallic type of chair with a metal plate in front of my face and in back of my face. And I was in it, and they did something to my head to see white pop, 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 white lights in my head very fast. When it was done, I couldn't stand up too well because the flashes were still going on in my head. So I had to be, the doctor and the assistant had to help me out back to the soldiers. So yes, there are soldiers there involved.
Okay, excellent. Going back, this is actually a really interesting topic throughout our Zoom gatherings. Is the idea of healing and working on this trauma. Can you share with us some of the regression therapy that you did, and are you able to share with us the person that helped you with that?
Her name is Leslie Mitchell Clark. I joined up with the Euphoria, the group's changed name. Right after, in 94, 95, when I came back from my 20-year and back, about 18 years, my body was great, like it was brand at 30, 31, but my emotional state was a wreck. So they allowed me to know something was going on, but not much. That helped me. And then, but I couldn't do any regression until let's call it the 18-year and back for me was done. So I had to wait about 18 years until about 2012, 13, before I could do any regression. And her name was Leslie Mitchell Clark. She works in the Toronto area. And when you go to her, she will do a type of a questionnaire to make sure that you're not partially crazy or fake, just to make sure that you're real. And then she'll go on. If she thinks there's something more going on and it's not real, then she will say, I have another doctor to go have you look at, basically.
That's Karl, that's absolutely fantastic. I was actually given Leslie's name by a member a few weeks ago, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Leslie did Emery Smith, worked on with Emery Smith as well. And I've had some correspondence with Leslie. So a little bit of a teaser for all you with me. I'm going to be speaking with Leslie, and we're going to be setting up an interview time in the new year. So that's already on the books. So very interesting, Karl, that you bring up Leslie at this time.
Okay.
Very cool. So we have a couple questions that are going to be relating to your 20-year and back. Before we get into that, you briefly touched on your experience with Mantis being. A quick question from Deborah about that. What color was the Mantis being? And she wants to know what shade of green.
The one that this gets into the next step. When they wanted, after all this testing, they wanted me to join their club. And the Mantis being in virtual reality was the one to ask me. I was picked up. They actually let me, the Mantis being, first of all, was brownish, dark-skinned. 7, 8 feet tall, wearing a monk's robe, a brown monk's robe. But I only saw, at the time I thought it was real, but it was like a virtual reality meeting, like where it's bent up, but it also felt like the being was right there and I could feel its touch. And he basically, I was brought on the ship to the spot to the transport room, I'll call it. And this ball of light in the air that was like whitish black ball in the air became the mantis. And he offered me, this other me, a job to work with them, to help the Earth. And I said I would. Oh boy, I should have asked for details.
So Karl, they asked Alan 354.
I think I became more Alan 354 after that.
Okay.
Well, I don't know officially when I became, and that this mantis was brownish skin, big black eyes. His mouth had like four lines right near where the eyes came down. And I'm not sure if that was a nose or not, and a tiny slit down below. Maybe that was the mouth. But it's very telepathic. He's like a boss, a bureaucratic boss. He's over I don't know his exact job. He may have changed job by now, but that's what I know about him. And he doesn't let me know a lot about him these days.
Interesting. So maybe if we can just touch on that comment, you have follow-up contact with this being?
It is limited. From natural ability or praxis or built in. If I think of, we'll call him, he doesn't have a name, but he allowed me to use Kern. Whenever I think of Kern, I make a mental contact with him wherever he is. So he knows right now that I am talking about him. But whether or not he wants to let any more deeper contact come in is up to him, because one day I pressed him in a regression on what the name of our core was, and I don't think it went well for him.
Understandable. So, no worries. Okay, so you brought us to the point of this beginning of this like 20-year back agreement. Can you, before we get into some of those details, can you just share with people what is this 20-year agreement and what is this all about, and what does that mean to be a part of a 20-year agreement in the SSP?
All right. First of all, they have the technology to, for example, if I'm taken and going for a 2-week meeting, and you're watching me from across the road, you see me gone for 2 hours. I'm gone for 2 weeks or 2 years. It's time travel. It is really weird, and I can look like I haven't even aged. Now, I didn't start my 20 years and back until I was about 31. Before you get there, I had to have a basic course for the Space Cadet course, I'll call it, where you learn the basic rules. They take your sperm, the basic rules of military discipline. They introduce you to out-of-body technology, that techniques and such. And you are basically the discipline of when the handlers tell you to do it, you do it. You do not question. In the course, if you said no for any reason, you would be in horrible pain for about 30 seconds to a minute. They took our sperm, and I was the first one up. I'll get to the 10 years. This has to go through this here, okay?
Yep.
And I said no to the technique. It's a bit personal. And they gave me a good shock. And I did my job, and I did it. We all did it. And then we were told we were all hybrids, and that in that we also got a classroom of, we're all sitting there, okay, going up to that time of taking sperm, we didn't have anything on in this school. We had nothing on. right after that, we got to wear like a jumpsuit. And and I was asked why taking the sperm, and it was that it's a dangerous part-time job and you may not come home alive, basically. So another quick important thing about is that they had us go out of body in the classroom environment. A tall gray was there talking to us, in our heads, of course. And then we were on a ceiling, and it was beautiful. It was great. We were like clear jello moving around up there. It was beautiful. And then we were starting to stick our hands and parts of our bodies through the walls and ceilings, and then we were back on our bodies. And quickly, one last quick thing about that, they gave us, when we're all done, just a few more minor things, but when we're all done, they gave us a party. It's a party you can't tell mom and dad about. We had nothing on, and we could do, as long as it didn't hurt anyone or force anyone, we could do whatever we wanted. And there was probably liquid booze or drugs or something there. I don't remember much about it, but it was, wow. Now, we're done the course. And the 18-year and back, before we got there, we did a stint on Mars. I don't remember much. I don't remember a lot of details, but I went once or twice with a jump gate, and I think once with a ship.
Carl, can you pause for 1 second? Can you explain
Sure.
to some people what a jump gate is?
All right, a jump gate is a platform or a door. It's technology. For example, if it's a platform, you walk on the platform. They press the button, whatever, and you are materialized, or however it's done, and you're on Mars or the moon, or light years away. You're on another platform. You're just there. I stepped through one platform and I was in a rock hallway on Mars. I had to go down the hallway about 40 feet long, turn left. There was the security checkpoint. I put my hand on the security pad. It's gated off. The soldiers, they say you're in, you're the right person. And I don't remember too much of that stuff. Some was good though, but I do remember that me and Jeff went outside on Mars. We could breathe. It's warm enough at the middle of the planet in certain seasons, but at nighttime it's dangerously cold. So we did a bit of that. I don't remember about being much soldiers or doing that, but we had some training there. Okay. After that, now we'll get to the 20-year and back. Okay, to get into the 20-year and back, me and Jeff, we were given a test. The first part of it was in two parts. The first part was on a base somewhere, I believe on Earth, in a desert area. We had to put on a big round ball helmet with racing stripes down it. It was white with black or red racing stripes down it. It looks really corny. With antenna and something over your right eye, covering your right eye. Now, that you had to use your mind, and with your mind control, it looked like a ski box that goes on top of a car or a truck. We flew it, no problem. That was really fun. Then we got to the real test. There was a slightly scratched up, 30, 40 foot wide round UFO near the base area. We were drove out in a Jeep out to it. The doors were open and we got to fly it. We got to sit in the chair. We got in this craft is a chair with a technology that connects to your mind. You go in, the door closes, the computer connects to your mind. You see a virtual reality of what's around you and all the instrumentation. Now, it's either, I'm not sure if your hands really touch something or they're just a computer stimulation in the brain. But either way, it moves fast. It can go 0 to Mach whatever, stop, go down, and you're not splattered. It is truly amazing. We did what we had to do. We passed. That was great.
So you experienced what a lot of people see in the sky when they are seeing really jolty patterns of a UFO. You felt that.
It's as if you're sitting on on a on a platform with a chair, and you can put in virtual reality any type of information around you. You are moving, but you don't feel the movement. Now, the problem is with this, if the craft does hit something hard, you will go flying. It has its limits, and it did happen in my while we were gone on the 20-year and back. That can be deadly. So we I experienced that. That was great. And then me and Jeff, we were picked up, and we were brought to it was a large enough craft in our atmosphere. And me and Jeff had to sign on a dotted line in front of a human Earth officer. For this, we changed our clothes. We had our first uniform. We went in a smaller 40, 50-foot craft. It had about 15, 20 people in it, at most. And we went to, it left this larger craft, and then a few seconds, or let's say 30 seconds out from this craft, it did a jump. This craft had multiple ways to go, how to fly. In a second of snap, it went from Earth to, I believe it was near Saturn. Saturn and Jupiter, there is a ball station, like a Death Star looking. Not quite like a Death Star, but is a ball station. It's huge. And we docked inside, and it looked like we didn't make it for us. It was either loaned or bought or was whatever, because the main hallways for the staff, they're really tight. Other hallways are very nice. Everything's well kept, very high tech and clean. Your quarters are really cramped, but you have room. But this time, since you're like a junior officer in training, the chair you get to use the chair that attaches to your mind for time off, and they look like lazy boys. The lazy boy chair, and you lie back, put your feet up, the computer goes in, and you go wherever you want. You want a beach, you want to go shopping, fake shopping, you want to go hiking, it's there, and you feel everything. It's amazing. I don't remember a lot of there, but I remember doing some exercises flying a small single-seater craft and seeing the ring of the planet, like giant crystal water crystals, the planet with the sun. It was really beautiful. And then I had to go fly back home, back to the base. Now, after that was done, and I believe it was about a 6-month course. Now, after we were done, me and Jeff worked together, flying over Earth and going into when told to, going into cities on Earth. I don't remember too much of there, but we'd get into the psychic and psychonic spying and stuff. They didn't give me much memory of that. Now, one reason partly why things didn't go so well was that one day while we're flying over Earth, our craft and a bigger craft, we hit. A pie section of our craft got knocked off. It was stuck on the other one. A hole got made in our craft. Our craft got loose. It brought us the autopilot, the intelligence of the craft. It has its own. It's like an AI. It's like it's alive. It brought us down to the planet. What partially saved me from this hole was my partner on the other, wherever he was sitting. His body was, some or most of it was sucked out of the hole and frozen into place. They got me down. The ship got me down to a meadow where there was another ship waiting for us. Well, it came down, and I was bashed up very badly, legs, arms, my head. And this is something hard for me. The ship at times could allow me to contact me while I was inside and see what the people around me saw in the hole. I won't describe it. And I could see the craft from the top down. They took me out. There was blood. They put me in another craft. They healed me up. I knew Jeff. I thought Jeff was dead. I think he was. But I was in a med bed for a long time. And it took a long time to heal. They healed up my bones. I had broken bones in the legs, left arm, and my skull. But emotionally, I was really not in good shape. I'll touch on the med technique for healing a bone inside your arm or leg. They open up the flesh. There's no blood. There's no knife. I don't know how it's done. And let's say you've got 2 or 3 pieces of bone loose. They take like a white cotton sheet cloth, and they put the bones together. They wrap the bone together so it's straight with this, so it sticks together. And then they expose it to a certain frequency of light. And that material around the bone fizzes up and becomes a cast on the bone. Then they close up the flesh, and you don't move that arm or leg for a while. So there I was on a med bed for a long time. Kern came to me in my mind, and we went over what happened and the scene on the planet. And he and my boss let me see that they were having a meeting on what to do on some implant for me. Kern was there in virtual reality. My military boss was there. The doctor was there. And Kern was showing them something that he was saying was going to be put into me. It looked like a 1.5 inch long black thin rod device with it looked like a black tiny flower attached on its side. I saw it in the air moving. I believe that was put into my spine. So this was done. I was healed up, but I couldn't work in that job anymore, flying with them, because I didn't have a partner. So they sent me down to, I believe it was Los Alamos area, as another identity as a junior Air Force officer. And I worked in an office. And what I did was to go out of body using my training as in psionics, ESP and such. I would go into the room would have a couch, like a half moon couch, a coffee table, and 2 or 3 chairs on the other side. I'd go there, get comfortable. I would be brought information in the form of some papers in a plastic bag. There'd be there'd be a face, a name, I think a location. And he would leave. I would sit back, relax, and they don't remember me what I did or how, but I would leave my body, find said person, and usually, and the 3 that I remember, I believe they were doing remote viewing. And that's when I did something to them to give them a heart attack. Maybe a stroke out of it. I've never told anybody the technique, and I won't. And when I came back the first time, me doing this in that life, they had me cold. I was just pure job cold. I do the job, that's it. So he comes back, he is quite happy he did a good job. I'm debriefed by a blue military suited officer, a head psychologist, and this time there's a new psychologist there. I could tell from his looks, he didn't believe this was real. But after my debriefing, he was frightened. And I felt good. Alan felt good. So I remember 3 or 4 out of about 15 or 16 people I did this to. It wasn't just doing that. I could go, for example, if I wanted me to find 3 bombs on a truck. Well, I was out of body. That was my target. I'd find the truck. I bounced in. I wasn't physical body. It was great. It was like being Bugs Bunny. I could go right through the doors. And then I went and put my head into the boxes. I found the bombs. But luck, there was a guard on this truck sitting there. So I took him over. And I used his body and I just through my other connections, I knew all the codes to open up the boxes and what to do. And I made sure these things would not work properly. And after I was done, I left him sitting there in his corner thinking about, I believe it was his mother or his aunt, white-haired aunt, and I just flew off. That was really neat. So I'm doing this, and then one day, I'm in the junior officers, I believe it's a junior officers mess. It's a nice sunny day, and I go crazy with pure rage. I don't think, I don't know why. What happened was, in all this time, all the pain and anger and anything, the bad emotions, it's bottled up. And I believe this was bottled up on purpose to make like to fuel a psychic weapon. So when I did go attack someone out of body, I used some of this rage to disrupt their energy around their heart. So, but I have this bottle of rage. My partner is dead. I'm doing things that me wouldn't never do or could do. And then this rage comes out. They have to knock me out just to get control of me. Then I'm allowed to remember that I'm strapped down to a table that can become a chair. And my boss, the doctor, and the psychologist are there in the room, and they're saying, you can't stay, you're not stable enough anymore. And I understand. I'm going home. But then I go nuts again, and I want off of that chair, and I want to start swinging. And they just leave. Then this chair becomes a table while I'm writhing away in anger, and the doctor puts it looked like half a buzzsaw sticking out on a plate on my chest. It calms me down. And the last one is, I'm on a tarmac, white sands. It's like a white tarmac with airplanes and jets coming and going. And Alan is thinking he's really going to miss this. He liked that life. He liked the people. And in that life, we also went camping in the desert, had fires out there with the people that we were working with. So now I'm back home, and I'm 31 again. It's like I haven't aged, but emotionally, I end up looking like PTSD, depression, it's like I'm a mess, basically. But they have to let me know this happened, or else I'll go crazy and I may kill myself. So they pick me up, and they set it up so that Canada Day 1995 in the morning, I will remember a tiny fraction of what I have been through. Not even all the real stuff. Just I know for a fact that they're there. Now, when I remembered, when they allowed, it's like a download. When I remembered this, I went on my bed in a fetal position, thinking if I had a knife, I'd cut my wrists. Only for maybe 30 seconds. But then I said, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to learn about what's going to learn about them. I will live. There's no marks. The emotional state was bad. It has been bad at times. And over the next 18 years, this is like it's set up. James Borg and them and Euphopia. I was one of the founding members of that with James Borg. So that was part of my support and one of my sisters. So now up until, but I couldn't, this time got me healed emotionally enough, much better. About 2013, I could start to do regression techniques, and I was also getting flashbacks, and it's getting used to this stuff. And if there's a few other things in there, but I'm sure there's a lot more questions now too.
No, that there's so much to unpack after that. You basically gave us a rundown of your 20-year, and then and then coming back and then going through that process. We could touch on so many different things. There are some questions here. Before we move on with those questions or springing off, there is one of the first questions that was asked was going to be during your 20-year, and maybe you can shed some light on some of this contact. Were you in the same group as Corey Good?
I don't remember. What I remember is me. There's Jeff. Jeff's code name was Jeff 262. I was Alan 354, of course. We were 12 in our class, but in this 20-year and back, I only remember part of the training, the ship. They only let me remember very little. I also remembered that they made a clone of me when I went aboard for the training. But as for Corey Good, I don't remember him, but there has been one or two other people on the secret space program, Enriquez, Narav, and James Rink. They believe they remember me, but even them, they don't have complete memory. There's another younger man who believes they met me, but like it's very tiny memories, but he described me as my alter as a dick. So he wasn't a nice person. That person is just for pure job, if he comes out, he's amazing, great, he's part of me, but okay.
No, for
That's
sure.
it.
No,
Yeah.
I understand absolutely. Okay, so you going again. We're gonna stick out during the 20-year. So Kat would like to know. You did talk about going out to the base in the Saturn area. Was Saturn? Do you know if Saturn was chosen for strategic reasons, or was Saturn chosen based on the black cube?
I don't have information. They just let me remember what they want me to remember. So I don't have a memory of a black cube. All you know is that they have the technology. They're working with other races, and they have the technology, and it's much more complicated. It's a very complicated thing. But I'm sorry, I don't.
It's okay. But it sounds like, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that you was your direct officer or your boss per se, like, were they a part of or are they a part of the Fifth Reich right now?
My problem is I don't have a name of my corps. It may have been Solar Warden, but it seems that you can be loaned off to other groups.
Correct.
So there's someone indirectly has saw the uniform of my partner, and it looks like a black long uniform that could be Solar Warden or not Watton, either one.
Interesting. And I think as we know right now, even after Solar War split as well into various subgroups. So it can get complicated as we try to dive deep into those details. But that's another reason why yourself and so many others are going through this healing and this time of sharing to work through some of these things and get some of these stories out, as important as they are. A couple of questions here. I think you did a really good job, I think, answering this one. As a soldier, what was your job for these beings? Like you touched on the different flight and pilot jobs that you had, and of course with the tragic accident that occurred, you were in charge of that ship, and then you kind of took part in some into some psychonics in your office job. So a question that they have though as well is, you did some pretty, it sounds like you did some pretty bad stuff, or they asked you to do some things, and you and Alan 354 agreed to do those things. Were you asked to steal under their orders?
I have a memory. I don't remember if Jeff was alive or not. I walked in with another man into in the 80s and 90s office area with like 15, 20 people at least at desks. With my abilities as Alan 354, the guy working with me stopped by the front desk in front of before we went in there. I saw an open desk. I went in and I sat down, and with my abilities took information from one of their computers. A supervisor about 5-10 feet away talking to another person looked at me and said, like, what are you doing here? Who are you? And without saying a word, I made her believe that she had an important call or something in her office and you never saw me. Go to your office now. And she did. In 5-10 minutes, I had the information on a stick, whatever it was, and I walked out. Me and the guy walked out of the office, made a right-hand turn, a block or so away. There was a coffee shop. We sat there. We got picked up by a big black car. Our boss was in the front seat, passenger seat. I hand over to her the information. The job was over. Unfortunately, they may have made Alan 354 somewhat of a psychopath. I don't like that, but another person has warned me that there could be a person like that here.
Very plausible, especially when you or when they are messing around with an individual psyche, and then splitting it as they did with you. Such trauma is going to bring about so much consequence, and it does take a lot of work to bring that out, to work through that, and to accept it, and to forgive it. So so far, Karl, thank you so much for doing that and sharing. I wanted to check in on you at the halfway point. How is your battery doing? How are you doing? Do you need a break?
The battery's at 60-70%. Should be good.
Okay.
And so far, so good.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. We're gonna have we have a couple more questions here. Now I know you did describe some of your time there on Mars, and it sounds like it's a little bit of you're still working through some of those memories. We have a question though, from, is it Michelle? Does Mars have those underground bases with crystal cover?
Okay, what I remember about Mars, there's a base on top, our base that I was at. It is, it's like a big bricks, but curved back, a little high wall, but curved back. There's a doorway big enough for a small truck or an SUV type thing to go down the road. They allowed me to remember going down the road in there. But the neat thing was, there was ruins on Mars. And me, Jeff, and two guys had the opportunity to, okay, part of the question is, there is life, it looks like there's life underground. The surface is very extreme. Even if in the warm areas, it can be warm enough in the day for pants and shirt, but at nighttime it's dangerously cold. So the water goes underground. And how do I know this? Is because in this trip we had time off, a few hours, we took a Jeep from the base down the valley. We saw something like trees with, it looked like trees that have leaves like hanging cactus, flat. And we saw a ruin of a building. The doors looked like a church, but thick walls, like a 9-10 inches thick. And we didn't see in this ruin that there was a mini dinosaur. So we go in, it has no doors or windows. Part of the building is being filled in with dirt. So we go in there looking around. And one important detail is it looks like the rock surface has been melted so that even the mortar has been sealed. So we're looking around in there. And then one of us sees the head of a mini brontosaurus raise its head not too far from us in the room. And I pick up their fear like, look. So I do, and there it is. And we all communicate in our heads that walk out slowly. Just go slowly. We may have had weapons, but we didn't want to engage it. So we get out of there. It didn't attack us. We're happy. We go down the road, and there was a bridge. There's a stream with a bridge, but the bridge was like rock, nice rock, but it wasn't melted. And down the road a bit in this valley, there's another part of the building coming out of, it looks like it's coming out of the ground, but we don't have the time and we're not going in the building this time. So we then go back. That's what I remember of Mars. I remember the room me and Jeff was in. It looked like someone from the 1960s had designed this. Very sparsely decorated, etc. The coloring was very bright, but even though we had room in it and there's heat, it was still cold with the Martian nights. That's what I remember about that so far about Mars.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Karl, for that. All right, so this next question, I'm not sure if I have a name here. I'm not too sure if you're going to know this person, but it kind of brushes onto a further topic. Are you familiar with Og Tellez? Please forgive me, Deb, if I'm not saying that right. Og Tellez, who has similar memories of you, or like that you're kind of describing, and was Og trained. He sounds like he was trained to do the same things. So that kind of goes with this whole group of 12 that you were with. What were they? Were they all working on different kind of abilities and training stuff too? Were you all kind of working on the same kind of programs? Can you shed some light on that topic?
Well, you actually helped me out because that's a new name, because the memories I have of this class is very scant. Where they got a sperm, they give some basic training on getting in and out of the body, but we didn't get names. I don't remember any names. I just know my code name and my partner's code name. It's like when I went back into the base on Mars, they didn't allow me to, I'm allowed to remember seeing the road and the tunnel, but as we were coming up to an opening, there's nothing. It just stops right there. It's like, they allowed me this, but I can't remember a lot. I have to go by their rules, unfortunately.
No, and you bring up an excellent point of, the vastness and the depth of these programs and the amount of people that are a part of them, and the lengths that the higher ups go to keep the segregation in place with so many different implants and different side programs to keep people separate so you don't connect. And I think it is just in doing what we're doing today and continuing to do that's going to hopefully bring these people forward, and we can shed more light on some of these dark areas. Thank you, Karl, for that. Couple extra questions here. Again, from Deborah, do you feel that it is of benefit that you only have select memories that are revealed to you, kind of stemming off from what we just kind of talked about?
Somewhat, yes. At first, I was angry that I couldn't remember more because they're my memories and they'd taken them. But now it's, let's say, I was told in looks like a cartoon download that Alan took part of taking 15 to 18 people's lives. But I only remember 3 of them, 2, 3, part of it. And I don't want to remember anymore. I don't need to. Because I'm becoming, me and Alan have to come together. But I don't think we'll totally get together because he said he's different. He was trained and made to be able to do this, no problem. Not me. It gets to me. And that bottle of anger helped make another person, sort of another identity. I call him Karl 8. He was the kid who was tortured. And when I remember the torture, he sort of, part of him, his memory, I think a minor, he's angry. He's very, very angry. He's upset. That memory was locked up for 40 odd years of this pain to help to make me a psionic weapon in potential. And sometimes let's call it, his emotions come out, just blurt out. And I got the problem because sometimes I'm just not even thinking of this. I'm having a good day and I get a bubble of anger or pain come out because there's so much of let's call it a social mess in me. I'm not doing bad, I guess. But once in a while I get angry, just very angry for no reason. Yeah, answer your question. I don't really right now want to know everything. I want to know more things though. But we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Excellent points there, Karl. Thank you. So stemming off some of those comments that you made, do you feel that the SSP experience activated your gifts, enhanced your existing gifts, or added gifts into your physical being?
I believe they needed a basic framework of empathy as a child. They saw what they needed and then they added the implants and it was worked on. I believe that whatever gifts you have for this, they have to get you by a certain 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 range, start working on it, or else the brain will say you're not using it, you lose it. So in this case for me, they found me, they turned it on, they put the implants, they made it better, and I had training. It was both.
Excellent. Thank you. A follow-up question to that. Can you still perform the psychic training accurately and effectively? And do you still test yourself?
What I can do, I still have the empathy, which is empathic. But the other stuff for leaving the body, it seems that, my guess is that when I came back here home as me, they don't want me so easily doing this. When I do a remote viewing exercise, I'm good at it. I would have to practice. Some of these other tools are practice, and your brain, like a muscle, gets better. But I'm empathic, and people can just look at me from 40 feet away, and I know exactly. Now, what happens is sometimes in an emergency, instead of me dealing with the situation, Alan will come out. And Alan will come out and deal with it and use the psionic stuff just slightly to stop any violence or fighting or stuff like this. Or he'll come out and just take over and do some really neat driving maneuvers so that we live.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, we have one more here from Michelle asking who is your boss, but I think we covered that as much as possible, unless you have anything else you would like to share about that particular topic.
The closest, I don't know the names of the military boss. Kern is that's not the being's actual name. Kern. That's what he allowed me to call him. He's the mantis.
Okay,
And
so he's almost like the representative for you know, that kind of area then.
he was a bureaucrat. He's a boss bureaucrat above my boss and the doctors. I don't know his full job title. His job may have changed since then. Anyways, we used to be on better, I feel like we used to be on better terms, but now it's not so, but we're civil. We're okay.
Excellent, excellent. Here's another interesting one from Michelle. Did you see people, again, from your memories of Mars, did you see anybody from Earth working as slaves on Mars or any other colonies or planets?
The people that I saw did not, what I remember, nobody wore a great big sign on them saying slave. They wore clothing. So the little I remember for the debriefing was I went in as a officer, as a soldier. And the other people were there. I don't remember anything was a slave. And again, too, if I would have said no in that program, even not as a slave, my health would not be much if I started to know and buck the system in that world.
Absolutely, absolutely. It sounds like, you know, it's a really interesting relationship here, and even in the training, you know, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm hearing, you know, the programming of basically of the captors, where they give you you know, some highlights and some of that time, but then also there is no question of loyalty and commitment, and you are, you know, not to cross that line, otherwise you will be punished very, very severely, and on it goes. So it sounds to me, again, the programming and the manipulation continued even throughout those training sessions.
Okay, what it is that, slave or not, even from some other people and myself, if you are working for them as first I was like a regular soldier, whatever rank that was. I had certain benefits, let's call them ABC. Now, but when I got to be an officer flying, you get more benefits. You get a nicer food, you get a nicer place to live. The chair for you is a lazy boy chair. The lower ranking people, or the person, let's call them a slave, in other stories, other people, you can be a slave, have a nice place to live, but you're still a slave, basically.
Right. Interesting. Thank you for diving into that one. Okay. This one's from Cheryl. Were you considered gifted as a kid in school?
Not really, because in part of what they were doing to me affected me, so that they were opening up my empathic abilities, and they couldn't shut everything down. So I was picking up emotions and things from people, and I didn't understand it. and that was not good. If I'd have known of that and known what to do of how to shield other people's emotions coming in, it might be better. Who knows? But I wasn't in any gifted. What I get is that once you're in as this, they want the person, me here, to be normal, boring, don't get hurt, be healthy, have the rare beer, but don't get stoned too much. They're putting all this energy into your brain and body. They don't want you messing it up. And they give you protection. You get some protection. They also had me interested in having certain types of weapons around me, even as a kid, as protection. I won't go into that, but there's some side effects of this. So, the question was, no, I had to look normal.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Karl, for sharing that. There is, we did get a link posted here about that one person mentioned, Og Telez. So if you are interested, Karl, we can definitely get that interview to you so you can check it out and perhaps get some connection there.
You know how to spell that? O-G?
A-U-G.
A-U-G.
And then last name T-E-L-L-E-Z.
E-Z. Okay. I can go online.
Excellent. Okay, so we have a question that was asked earlier this week, and maybe we can get a different perspective on it. From a late arrival, Raymond asks, is it true that the Earth is flat or round?
I thought, even from this program, and as a teenager also, I jumped out of an airplane from 3,000 feet as a civilian. It looks round. It curves.
There you go, Raymond. You heard it first from Karl. Okay. Kat would like to know. It sounds, again, you are continuing with your healing and that process. So many different factors go into that. Have you had any of the implants removed? Can they be removed or neutralized?
Well, one was removed a few years in after I learned about this, but I didn't know everything. I ended up with 2 cysts on my skull. A big one, back here, and one at the base of my skull. That was one of the implants that that was put there. Okay, right after. Okay, yeah. There's an implant back here at the base of my skull. That was put in right after I said yes to join. That was another story there. I had to go actually meet the UFO this time, and they put a implant in the back of my skull, near the base of my skull, and on my left hand. Okay, this implant was at the base of my skull. There is a cyst there, and a cyst on my skull. I finally got the cyst removed. When the cyst was popped at the back of my skull, a brown pea thing came out with blood vessels attached. At the time, I didn't want it. Maybe I should have. And I was just told by the doctor, I'm not going to get any other information unless there's signs of cancer. There's no signs of cancer. I'm happy. I was just happy to get rid of it. But a few months, I believe a few weeks or months later, I got a type of message from the ETs. I was at work our plant makes plastic bags. And I was walking down the hallway when a pain at the base of my spine stopped me mid-stride. This dot of pain moved up my spine to the spot where the implant was taken out. It intensified. I used the pain lessening techniques, and then it just stopped. They had me know they can get to me. Point blankly.
Indeed. Okay. Some couple interesting questions here. Have you, as Karl, had any UFO sightings or encounters throughout your life?
Okay. In our group, in our UFO group, we were out by Kingston doing some camping, and we did see, we're on a beach, night's coming on, sun's coming down, and we saw what we thought was a UFO in the distance. They just disappeared. Now, what more that happened with me is not seeing, but I'll give you an example. I was starting to get an allergy to spring allergies, so I couldn't sleep, and I was 2, 3 in the morning, and it was bad. So I'm lying face down on my bed. I put my hand out. I'm touching the wall, and then a hand comes out of the wall, feels like a gloved hand, and holds my hand. It made the wall, whatever technology, and somebody held my hand for about 15, 20 seconds. I just went, oh. I didn't freak out. And then the hand let me go, and I felt the wall, and it was there. The wall was there. Like, okay. But then within 20 minutes, I could sleep. So they helped me. Or a few times that happened, I'm about to go to bed in the good state to go, and then I feel that an ET is coming in the room or is in the room. But when I think this, they know that I can feel them and they usually leave. If they come in to pick me up, they have to come in and shut me down before they take me. They have to change my identity or do something. They're going to shut me down when they do that.
Interesting. I guess a follow-up question to this, and you've already mentioned a couple of the different races, and maybe this is a good time if you have them available. I know you have a couple pictures, but Luis would like to know, who are the races that you've been in contact with?
All right. A tall grays, 5, 6 feet. The regular grays. There's a person that's not a gray. The head looks like Stewie, with fairly big, but not curved. But the eyes are like an inch or two around. This is the most serious being that I've ever mentioned. His job is his or her job. This was one of the guys that picked me up from my room to go meet the mantis. There's that. There's hybrid human beings. There's ones that look a mix of human and gray. I've got 3 kids up there, supposedly from my sperm. So they've mixed this is the mantis, of course. What else? There's one that looks like it's a humanoid. It's a squarish head, but unfortunately my computer's down, and that it's sort of a squarish in front, big roundish black eyes, but the head goes back weird. It's got like a dent going all the way back the center of a flat skull, but it's not flat on top. It's like ridges, 3, 4 ridges. And that guy showed up at my work one day. I was complaining once that I wanted more of a contact. So he showed up one day and took 1 or 2 smaller, tiny scoop samples from my left hand. He did it so fast, I knew something that happened. I felt something happened, but no one else knew it. And I went through regression, and got some information, but I also could do some automatic art, and I got a face. So they've been here 5 minutes, and they've talked to me and left a scoop mark. It's amazing. Okay, what else did I see? Mantis grays, humanoids, human people. One of my kids is a human gray mix with a bit of hair. I'm hairy. Sorry. And 2 of them look like a elfish humanoid, and they, as far as I know, they live in a community on a planet that looks like doesn't look like it has technology, and they walk around and everyone goes around naked, like human elfish. Don't remember too many more races at the moment. It might come back more.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So Raymond has a hot topic question here that he's interested in, and then one that's been, is in the dark corners of this field a little bit. Do you know if we are being harvested for food and drugs by various kinds of other races?
I have no personal experience, but I do know if they will take children like me and put them through torture, especially with the older classes, multiple times over, risking them death, killing the kids. It is very possible that part of us, they like for, let's say myself, we have basic abilities to do something that they can use. There's other people like me they've used. Other people they may pick up because, do they taste good? I don't know. I don't have any personal information on that.
No, thank you, Karl. Definitely an interesting and sensitive topic for sure. And again, one that people may or may not even be privy to when you are a part of these different kinds of programs. So I don't know how you're feeling, Karl, but we've gone on for a good hour and a half. I'm sure there are plenty of other questions. Before we, I guess, wrap up or move on, would you like to, is there anything else that you would like to share or express to the group?
Okay. I haven't covered everything. There's odd stuff more. But basically in the last 7 years, I'm putting the puzzle together and I'm going through emotionally to put me together. And it's not bad, but the bad part is one day much more may come out, and people like me, I may get a knock on the door and it's the state police, the police, whatever, and they'll go, "Is this real?" And now, neat thing is, I gave a quick talk at a alien conference in Toronto, and there's an American speaker in the audience. Right after I talked, I was walking away. He said, "Karl, come over here." He showed me a piece of paper, supposedly under the rules in the US, because I worked for a black project. Whatever I did, I cannot be arrested in the States for doing that. Now, whether that still stands or not, when things come out or not, I don't know. But I'm trying to put a life together somehow, and this is part of it now.
I think we could all empathize with you a little bit there, where we're all trying to keep our, put our lives together, make sense of it, make sense of the world around us, and how we affect it, how it affects us. And we all have participated in various different ways, some good, some not so good. But it is that journey that we work through and forgive ourselves because there is so much going on that isn't shared with us. And it is in this time of sharing now where we can get some of these answers, we can shed some light on these dark topics and rally together to move forward, raising the vibration. And you are very instrumental in making that happen, Karl. I really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for what you've done and what you continue to do for the community and sharing with us today. So we will wrap up here. If there are no more final questions for myself or Karl or anything else, There are going to be plenty of opportunities to reconnect, I am sure. Kat says, thank you, Karl, for sharing from a Canadian perspective. That is so true. We've been trying to get some more Canadian voices about these kinds of topics. As you know, we've heard, as we know, the Americans have the monopoly on these kinds of experiences, but not so much as this has been going on around the world. And it's great to hear about some Canadians that have gone through some of these programs and that are healing, how they're healing. And because I think we all just want to support you in that journey as we go.
Okay, I know of someone who is originally from England. This woman does not want to come out or share, but she may be in a similar, not the same, a similar program, but she's not willing to come out and share. So I can tell you that it's also in England.
Absolutely. And thank you for letting us know that. You know, there is no area that is left untouched when we're talking about these kinds of groups, these types of programs. There are so many places around the world that are sacred and that are special, and they want to control all of it. They don't want to share that with anybody else. So I think, you know, we're doing our best to put the positive timeline forward, and you certainly, Karl, are doing your part to make sure that that happens. For everyone here, just a reminder, we're not stopping with this kind of topic and connection, as tomorrow we do have an interview and Q&A with Ilana, the Star Traveler. She is located in BC, and she also has SSP experiences as well. So it's going to be interesting to hear her perspective and her story in regards to the program and what's all been involved there. So please, if you have the time, at 7 p.m. Eastern, we'll be getting together tomorrow to have that conversation. Again, Karl, hopefully we'll be able to do this in the near future, maybe in the new year, as we get settled in. I would love to have you back on and share again. Hopefully this was great for the members. This will be reposted, so the rest of the membership can share, and I'm sure there'll be some more questions following that as well, Karl. If you want, last chance for any closing comments.
No, I have a whole sheet, but I could just talk and go on for about almost 2 hours. So there's a few other things. Some of them are really weird, like opening a door and you're in a different dimension, and you walk in a house, you go to open the door and you're in a different dimension. It's a way of hiding you after you do a job and somebody may want you. You can hide in plain sight because you can just jump dimensions. It gets weird.
No, that's fascinating, and I think we want to stop it at the weird stuff right now, and save that for our next chat, because I'm sure you know, we're gonna have lots of people really interested to hear about some of that stuff. So thank you very much for giving us a little teaser, because I'm sure we're gonna have a great conversation next time we get together.
Okay, good.
All right, so I guess finally, thank you, everyone, for taking the time today to meet with us, to listen, to ask questions, to learn. I really, really appreciate it. It's really what it's all about during this crazy, crazy time. It is about getting together and listening, sharing, and connecting. So thank you all so much. We had Kat likes the door stuff, so she's already on board. She's excited. I like it. I look forward to seeing, hopefully, most of you tomorrow at our CC Ontario Central special interview with Ileana, the Star Traveler, at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Please do not miss that one. Now it's going to be very, very special indeed. It's the other cat. Sorry. The other cat from BC is saying that he likes the door stuff. Thank you very much, Kat, for showing up. Anyway, have a wonderful night, Karl. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you so much. I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Karl.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Goodbye.